All right, we'll see if that works. We got a whole bunch of streams going at once. We're recording 3 things at once right now.
God bless us.
All right, we are on the good ship Freelance Space Monkey right now, getting ready to blast off, sitting in the launch pad.
In the world?
Yeah, that's what everyone's seeing right now. I'm gonna double check that we're not bouncing audio back.
We should
again.
name the monkey. We should name it.
Yeah.
People should write in and give us good names for the monkey.
They should. All right, live. Pardon us here, folks. I'm just double checking that our audio can be heard from the interwebs. And
if you hear a crackling sound,
it's
just my new vapor tool that I want to talk about tonight because I think it's going to save the world. It's going to help humanity.
All right, well, it does look like we're live,
On
and I
a
got
lot of
that
levels.
muted. Beautiful. The wonderful Kyle Petty is with us in spirit and electrical energy via the internet. He has seen the message, but he's not typing back. Anyways, let's get this kicked off. So,
I hate that.
What's
I
that?
just got to say I hate that.
Kick off?
No, that like the world's come to a point where I've got to fucking check to see if you've checked to see if you've written me yet. And if you have, why haven't you fucking done anything? You know what I mean? You could be driving down the road in a fucking snowstorm and somebody sends you a message and you look at it and, you know, because you can, but you certainly can't go into an answer.
Right.
Like, you know, how much money do we have in our bank account? Or, you know, whatever. Hey, what's that?
Hey, that's my phone going off.
All right, we need to settle that down.
No,
It's professional.
it is
It's fan base. We can't be like it's going to go off all night. You're going to have to shut her down.
Yeah, no, it's on silent now. I have Emma here checking to see if the sound's working.
All right.
One of our previous guests.
Yeah, we'll have to have Emma in because I think Emma should probably do more of these too.
Kyle says, "Sweet baby Jesus, it sounds like sweet cream on a Sunday morning."
Oh, that's good.
All right, then we're gonna
That's
kick this
hot.
off officially. Then.
This is like a dog on a pork chop tonight.
Oh yeah. All right, so we have a sponsor. We have a great sponsor,
Yeah, we do.
and it is called Web United.
Hallelujah. Get everybody together.
Yeah, Web United. It's some people are great at talking to people. Web United is great at helping you talk to people through technology. So if you have a small business or a big business, if you just have any kind of business, they are going to help you connect to more customers, the right customers, and at the right time for the right reasons. So check out Web United. It's getwebunited.com, and they have some cool stuff they can do for your business.
It's pretty funny when you talk to a lot of companies. Their biggest complaint is that they know that the yellow pages suck. They know that they throw money at stupid junkets that people don't really use or forget about in 5 minutes with their phone number on it. Or at least find a pin an interesting thing because who actually looks at what's written on a pin anymore? I have no idea what's written on any of the pins I have. But with social media, that's where everybody is. And with the right social media, you're actually able to track what's going on with your business because people are authenticating what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not a came in the mail or I got it at a trade show. It's something that people then can have an experience with. And that's really what's cool about what we're doing, what everything is going on with the world today. It's about user experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's about the user. So I think and I've seen the work they do. It's good stuff.
It is, yeah, man. And they're launching a new piece of social media soon too, fully custom campaigns and contests. So you can actually set up your own Facebook contest, or if you want to have your Facebook fans like and share something to enter a contest, which is it's pretty neat because if you have 100 people share something and they each have 300 friends.
It's 1,000,000, 100
it's a
billion
gajillion things versus just sharing it to your 200 followers. So
everybody on the planet has seen it.
Some new cool technology that
It really is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You know, I mean, it's a lot of businesses are built that way. It's not everybody's Amazon for sure, but it's really nice to know that you can market your own company in a way that you can sort of keep track of it. And it's virtually, compared to what marketing really costs, traditionally, it's very cheap. You know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're looking at the traditional mailers or anything that isn't internet based, pretty much, and you look at the actual return on what you get from the internet, it's incredible. Anyway, so getwebunited.com. In fact, if you've ever checked out our website, freelancespacemonkeys.com, that is a website that was built by Web United.
Nice.
So
that's why they're our sponsor, because they rock.
it is. They're pretty cool. All right, well, let's we're sitting in the launch pad. Let's hit the countdown.
We're hitting the countdown.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Let's launch.
All right, here we go.
Cabin 5.5 pounds per square inch. Oxygen go. Initiating retro fire sequence. All systems go. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Thrusters engaged.
Barton, you there?
Yes, Barton Heed, I'm here.
We're in space, Barton.
I like it. So what's going on, Cole?
There we go. Got our camera up and everything now.
I'm running the board over here on the side. Don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah, and I got my monitor down below there. If you can see me, it's over there. So I'm not staring at the floor. I'm actually looking at the monitor. What's going on, man? I'm enjoying the podcast.
Yes.
I've been working on a bunch of ideas lately.
Hey, tonight's kind of exciting because first of all, we do have a console. And second of all, it actually is working really well compared to what we've been frustrating ourselves with trying to get this fixed. Because we can do a podcast and we can generally make it work, but it doesn't really have any pizzazz to it.
Yeah.
Not like we're going to change any, but at least this way with the new audio gear, it should sound better. So that benefits everyone, and that's kind of exciting because it's a lot of technology trying to merge together.
Yeah, my background's in technology. That's pretty much all I really do all day is work in technology and integrating different pieces of technology that weren't necessarily made to work together, making them work together. And I would have been embarrassed at how hard I've been working and finally succeeding at trying to get this to sound good and to actually look good.
Well, hey, it works. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. So it's an exciting podcast. We can talk about things. Speaking of technology, how about the sorry about that, but how about the blenders of the Affordable Care Act website? So what's going on with that? Give us your
Oh,
skin on
man.
that.
Well,
What do you think of it?
I actually haven't looked into it extensively enough to speak publicly on it, but I will say I heard it cost something like $300 million to set up.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, they literally used snippets of code. Like they went onto websites and purchased pre-made code and slammed it together in a blender.
Yeah, I think the thing that's the most interesting thing about it is you kind of expect. I don't know if it was 300 million. I know it was 100 million. I know that.
Was it? It was.
Yeah.
It was way more
was
money
a lot.
than it was worth.
It's
Yeah.
in with this sort of shit. Unless you really know, it's sort of like the fish you caught. It gets bigger all the time. So
Right.
I don't really know. But what I do think is the most amazing part is that they went about this quietly off just building this website, knowing it was going to be fucked up. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, they
Yeah.
knew it was going to be fucked up because nobody was working. Nobody was talking, and nobody was working together. And so what do they do? The most interesting thing is they go and they get Google and I forget who there's like 3 big names that they just said are going to, okay, they're now coming online to help, with the blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, why didn't you just fucking... Everybody uses Google. If they had the opportunity and they were positioned to do a better job than anyone on the planet to begin with, why the fuck? And so there you go, right? There's the problem with the whole thing with government. Is it's not that it can't be something we need or want, or it shouldn't help our communities and our people, but ultimately it's a lot of fuckery.
Yeah, it is.
For a lot of money too.
Yeah, I mean, one of the points that's been brought up is the internet is now so accessible. Why aren't they leveraging it more to run the government or to increase the government? I mean, online voting is actually a possibility with the technology we currently have.
It's an amazing example
Yeah.
of how really, I mean, on a lot of levels, the sad part is on a lot of levels it proves the Republicans' point on just the fact that government's government and it's a mess and we shouldn't have any of it.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I kind of understand that. I also, though, do think that there's a lot of truth and reason for why we want to have something like universal health care for everybody and get rid of shit like preconditions. And I think ultimately the costs are what we got into this whole reasoning to elect this president to begin with. You know, in 2003, there was a huge discussion about just the exponential growth in the cost of healthcare. 2004, I mean, every year it just was, you know, healthcare is going up 15% for people. Employees are changing their options. Everything comes back to the cost of the human being, the worker, the person who has health insurance. And so that's why we elected him.
Right.
Was everybody bought into the idea that, you know, something like the Affordable Health Care Act could fix those problems. But, you know, when I talk to people, that the first thing is none of us have actually read it.
No.
So, like, you know, again, it's like the fish analogy, how big it is. But what we do know is the people who have read it, or at least trying to understand it because they're running businesses, are saying is that, you know, it's not what it's cracked up to be, and the costs are much higher.
Right.
Than the whole idea of calling it Affordable Care Act. Affordable care is the whole idea of it. But it's not going to be according to, but who knows? I mean, it'll play itself out and we'll find out real quick. But
yeah,
I tell you what, in my opinion, it's sort of done, and I don't think it needs to be, it needs to be, there needs to be a way to make it work. And I don't know that the way it's written and the way it's set up is the way to make it work. But I do know that shutting down the fucking government and showing off and fucking being all crazy is not helping any, you know.
No.
That's not a solution. It costs us money. It costs us a lot of money, billions of dollars, to just not do shit for a couple of weeks while we had a temper tantrum.
Can we boost the output just a little bit? Kyle said his speakers.
What does he want to hear more of?
Just a little bit more of all of it, I guess.
More of all of it.
Yeah, we just a little quiet, but just a little bit. Yeah, beautiful. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah,
ask him if that's better.
That's great. And can you turn my headphones down just a tiny little bit?
Oh my God!
I'm so picky. It's just it's
loud,
when
we just yelled across the table and hoped that the computers heard it, it was fine. Now I got to tweak everything. So what do you want? Less headphones?
Yeah, just give me a tiny little bit less
hold
on my. No, just on my Yeah, beautiful. Oh, I love it.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right. See, I personally like it louder. Plus, I have my fucking headgear on, so I have to listen through a scarf, basically.
Well, I mean, talking about the whole affordable healthcare thing, I mean, when I started my company and moved down to my parents' house, I haven't had health insurance for just over 3 years now.
So what do you think of that, though? I mean, that's good because you're young and you're healthy and you're more about health maintenance, and that makes sense. However, if you get stuck with something that becomes a serious issue, hear me out on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
check this out, though.
Yep.
So my daughter has MS, okay?
Okay.
And you know what? It could be, there's a lot of other things that suck, but MS sucks. And so what sucks about it is that it's a daily maintenance thing for the rest of your life. The good news is they're great medications. The good news is a lot of it now, today, are oral. There are not a lot of them, but there are oral daily, what I want to say, ways to take the medication, unlike taking shots or IVs. That was a common thing for a long time to try and just sort of mitigate MS. Well, the point is, what I'm saying is that she has that, and her annual cost for the prescription is $72,000 a year.
Whoa.
Okay, so without insurance, that's okay. So then you fall back to the government,
right?
Like, really, my daughter's got to deal with this, and you're not gonna. So there's always a way to fix that, right? But the point is, if you don't have insurance, especially moving forward, you pay a penalty for it. That's fine, but you could get in a situation where you have maybe not like where you break your arm and you can pay for that over the next 10 years.
Right.
It's not something you can pay for in a week. It takes time. It's expensive. But something like this is forever. If you have diabetes, right, it's forever. If you have any of those type of diseases that require maintenance, then that means you have to buy medications, and medications are expensive. So, again, it goes back to, okay, well, if we didn't have insurance and we had to pay for that for our daughter, then we probably couldn't do that. So we'd have to fall back on the government, and that's what Medicare, Medicaid, these other programs can, there are ways to deal with it, and there should be. That's the point. There should be ways to keep people healthy and live normal, balanced lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And beyond that, the catastrophic care, the idea of the Affordable Care Act to eliminate the traffic in emergency rooms for people who don't have insurance, and emergency rooms are just a la carte, super expensive environments anyway.
Right.
That is a huge burden on us all. But I think that, if I can get the technology of the NASA space program on my phone I get it. It's been a while since we can make that comparison. But the point is, if I can get that in my hand for $50 a month and have all of that, there's got to be a way, back to your point, that our government should be able to get their head out of their ass and find a way to build a technological breakthrough in Medicare. I'm
Right.
sorry, not Medicare, in medicine and in medical care. I think it's ridiculous that the cost of just taking care of ourselves, and when you look at statistics, if you looked at the pie chart of what our entire government spend is, it's fucking tiny what we pay to take care of our people, our elderly, our sick,
Yeah.
our downtrodden, people who are in a fucked place. And the 1% argument's kind of a valid thing, and everybody's suffering through that. But beyond that, it's just, there's got to be a way to have affordable health care. I don't think the Affordable Care Act's going to be it. I think
No,
it's going
I
to
don't
be a
either.
fucking mess. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I guess the idea that like guys like you are going to buy into it. That's what the fact that they built a law based on a bet, a gamble, that we're taking the biggest fucking long shot in the world. We're going to ask people who are in their 20s, who
Yeah.
are healthy as fucking oxes, who, they go out and they party all fucking weekend,
Yeah.
Everything from alcohol to ecstasy, and they go and operate and do a job and they party all week, and they never get sick, and they never, we're going to ask you guys to sign up for this, because if, and the idea is if you don't sign up for it, then the whole thing is fucked.
Well, that's where the penalties come in.
That's right. Well, but the penalties, fuck the penalties. I mean, who cares? The point is that we need people, everybody needs to be able to sign up who's eligible to sign up for it.
Right.
And but to your point, if the penalty is cheaper than signing up for it, and I don't need health care,
Well, that's what most
why am I
companies
gonna
are
do
doing.
that?
That unfortunately, that's
Absolutely.
what they're going to do. They're going to choose to pay the penalty because it's cheaper than actually giving them health care. In fact, what some larger
UPS.
companies are doing are actually,
UPS.
they're going to drop their regular health care coverage that they've had
Right.
and then just choose to pay the penalties, and their employees
Well,
get nothing.
UPS is not doing that. What UPS is doing is I believe, and I again, but I'm confident of this, that they're no longer going to have family covered insurance, so they'll cover the employee, but the family
Okay.
can't. So
Okay.
imagine if you're a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean? And I don't know if it's dependents too. I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's just employees only who are going to be able to carry insurance. So, God knows. It's just an interesting, to me, it's an interesting thing, quite frankly, that, we can't, a country like ours cannot find a way. Okay, so, the Republican idea of having this, there's just, however we want to get to it, it's just amazing we can't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
We look like, we're like just really off the mark. And like I said before, I mean, to just tie up the government for everything else, I just think it's crazy. To shut down the government over something that's already been voted
ridiculous.
on. I think it's 46 times they've tried to repeal this fucking act. 46 times it's not even gotten anywhere. So
Yeah.
what the fuck? That's like saying, you know what? I don't know. What's a good example? That's like me playing chess with you, right? And the idea is that you and I talked at a bar, and we both said we're great chess players. We talked strategy, and we both understood we knew how to play. And then we sat down and we made a bet, and whoever won got $500. and I double or nothing you for 46 fucking games. Like, really? At some point, like, it just got to stop. And they just can't. So I understand why they don't want to, but you know what? Too bad. There's just a better way to do all this shit. And we're going to find out quick with Obamacare what it really is.
Yeah.
And I hear both sides. You know, if you're we live in New Hampshire. So here we have one exchange. So there you go. There's not going to be any real advantage if you live in a state like New Hampshire. You know what? People who live in California, in San Francisco, they might have fucking 12 different exchange. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but I know it's going to be more than one. I know some states I've heard 5 exchanges, different competitors. So I find that interesting to see how that will play out for some of the states who, like Montana maybe, or us, or maybe Vermont. I don't know. Vermont's might have 2. I don't know. But it is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, whatever's got to get done, I hope, you know, it's something I've been looking forward to. I mean, what do you do when you can't afford to go to the doctor to pay, you know, $1,000 to have tests done?
That's right.
Yet the program that the government's offering doesn't even work that well.
I've heard all kinds of things. I actually was watching on TV, and I think it might have been CNN. I'm not sure. But they were comparing the costs, and I read this too. I'm pretty sure it was in HuffPost, or maybe I don't know. Anyway, the point is that I read all kinds of stuff, and what I heard were some people were like, "Love all the choices.
Yep.
I love this. This would be perfect for me, and I love the cost. I can do this." All the way to, you know, and that was like people who were saying $200 a month, and they were loving what they were getting. And I'm thinking, well, what fucking choices? Do they understand what they're getting then? Because good for you. That's what you pay working with an employer, kind of. But then I've read and heard stuff about people who are paying $900. They looked it up and said it's going to be like $900 a month. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what any of that means. I think the only example we have is what happened in Massachusetts, and that was ultimately a flop at first, and now it's working. But I don't know. I don't live in Mass, so I don't hear a lot about it. They really don't talk about it at all. I think it works pretty good now. I mean, as far as getting people insured.
Yeah.
But I don't know that any of that's going to drive costs down. I think there are bigger issues around healthcare that are systemic. I think the idea that, you know, going back to this example with my daughter, you know, and her medication cost, the reason it's that cost is because there's a company, and I don't think it's Merck, but whoever made the drug that she's taking, you know, that thing went to trial, and they dumped millions of dollars to get to this drug. And you think about all the trials that failed or didn't even get passed through submissions or testing.
Right.
The amount of money that these pharmaceutical companies invest, right, to create, for me and my love, my family, my daughter, a miracle drug,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
is insane. The amount of money they have, the cost they incur to have the shot of having one of their plans work out and get past all of it and become actually FDA approved. And so what happens is that we built this system, and that basically says, okay, you've created a unique thing, and we're going to allow you a patent, but we're going to limit the patent. 5 years, 10 years, I think, is the most a patent can run on like one of these drugs. And so they have to recoup their cost on that.
Right.
And they do that so they can create the generic drug marketplace, which to me, it's like, you know what? If and again, I don't know if it's Merck. I don't know if it's Merck, but whoever it is, if it's Merck, if they built this drug and it works the way it's supposed to and it does great things, again, a miracle drug for me, why can't they just run the patent out on the life of the drug?
Right.
And then that would drive down the cost. It would drive down a
Absolutely.
lot of, you know. And then it becomes more like, you know, well, you had Nintendo 64s, but they're not around anymore because you got the Wii. Right? I mean, life cycles of drugs are the same thing as life cycles of anything. Drugs improve, they replace them. But if they don't, if it is the ticket, then it's the ticket.
Right.
You know. So anyway,
yeah. Your daughter's now tuning in.
is she?
Yeah.
Hi, Emma. How you doing, girl? Yeah. So anyway, Well, anyway, so we're pretty excited. We have all this stuff going on. Enough about healthcare. What else is going on? What else are you doing?
I just actually made a little blog post about it the other day, but I'm really getting into the whole hacker space / maker culture.
So tell me, what's it? So most people think of hackerspace as people like, Anonymous who are sitting around trying to figure out how to fuck up the world.
Yeah.
What is it really, a hackerspace /
So the maker culture is, if anyone's seen Mythbusters,
Yes.
it's kind of that whole do-it-yourself, make it, leverage the new technology that's available, new materials and processes that's available to do cool stuff. And a hackerspace is just a place to go do that. So it's typically a shared workspace.
All right.
I joined this place called Make It Labs, Make It MAKIT, one word, Labs in Nashua.
You got a website? You want to push them out?
Yeah, makeitlabs.com.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, they're great people over there.
Yeah.
They have a 6,000 square foot, what's called dirty space. So everything from car lifts, MIG welders, TIG welders, CNC plasma machines. They have a whole glass section, glass kiln, pottery section. They have a explosion-proof chamber. They have a place they call the bunker, fully ventilated for sandblasting, powder coating. I mean, you can pretty much build anything you want there. It's amazing. Full Bridgeport, CNC Bridgeports. And then there's also a full clean space. It's probably about 1,000 square feet, maybe a little over. There's, I think, 8 electronics benches with full oscilloscopes, rework stations, everything you need to...
You just show up, or you have people that help you learn how to do this stuff?
Yeah, well, there's... you can just show up, and anything you want to learn, there's probably someone there that does it. A lot of the people there have jobs that, have... require certain skills. There's a lot of electrical engineers. There's guys that just do 3D modeling. They have a full Replicator 2 3D printer, so you can 3D print parts to go fit with other things and cast things. And
interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I've been on a couple tours recently that are centered around advanced manufacturing, and a couple of these places I went to, it's amazing. One company I went to, they make the huge... basically everything is mixed. Everything in your store is mixed. It all ends up being mixed somehow. And so all the stuff that's baked in the stores all the way back to the company where they make everything, they have these huge aluminum or stainless steel, I should say, stainless steel augured mixing devices like what you'd have on your kitchen counter, but they're huge.
Yep.
And to see how they made those, and just the CNC work that went into it, and the lathes that are the modern lathes they're using to do it, it's just, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And another company that did like jet molding, and it is, I asked both of them too about 3D printing. I said, what about 3D printing? They're like, oh, we have a 3D printer, but
more for prototyping right now.
Understood. But fast forward 10 years, I can't.
Absolutely.
I imagine. Because if you can just haul in the raw materials, what does that look like?
Well, what
does that even look like to haul in just, and seriously down to the carbon footprint of basic structure? What does it
not
come
even
in a tub? Does it come in a
forget hauling?
Email?
Pick a place where the resources are and just put a printer there. Negate the entire relocation of resources.
Right, but imagine this. Imagine that you're at home, okay, and you want to make let's say a coffee maker,
right?
Oh
yeah, I'm speaking more like an industrial level, but
sure, but
right.
even it's the same thing, and so you want to make a coffee maker, and so you go onto Amazon and you order the kit to make a coffee maker for your Minolta 3D printer or whoever, right? And then the stuff comes and you pour it into the bins, and voila, you have a new coffee maker.
Yeah, they're actually
or a new Corvette. I mean,
NASA, it was a great article recently. NASA just figured out how to use the materials on Mars on how to print building blocks.
Nice.
And they actually believe that they can send a 3D printer there and a set of robots.
Yes.
And completely build a base before we ever get there.
Yeah.
And then we just show up and our house is done.
It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. It's all going to come to a head.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that the point is that's really cool. I mean, the idea that you can go somewhere and have that space and do that sort of work. I've always enjoyed welding. I haven't done it for literally forever. But when I was in high school, we had a really cool shop teacher, and he had a MIG welder, and traditional, just throw the mask down with the beads, and we would literally sit there, and make, just see how strong a weld we could make. That's just all we would do, is just spend a lot of time in our own little booth, taking and making a T, or taking side by side or edge to edge or whatever, and we'd make those different weld points, and it was just kind of funny because all we did was just sit there and waste wands of welding material, but it was a lot of fun, and if you had a plan to build something like my friend Mark Balky, this kid, he was a year older than me, but he lived in the shop. Like, he was just like built to want to do that stuff, and so he was working with our teacher that I mentioned, but he was allowed to use the lathe, and he made things, and he had a plan.
Yep.
We just like to weld. We weld anything.
Yeah, I just did my first set of TIG welding. I mean, MIG welding. I'm learning TIG slowly.
MIG and TIG. So what's the difference between a MIG and a TIG welder?
A MIG is basically a hot glue gun with metal. If you want to think of it that way, it just feeds
hot
out of
glue gun with metal.
It feeds out of the middle. You just go, and then a TIG is, I believe I forget the name for it, but it's a little tungsten rod that's sticking out of the gun, and then you hold the piece almost like soldering in the other hand, and you have to kind of alternate as you go. So that's more like threading a needle as you go. So it's much, much harder and finer. So it's
is it a better weld?
It's a different weld. It's much more fine, but I believe the process that the plasma creates, or the amount of heat and electricity, removes a lot of carbon from the steel. So it can weaken it if you do too much. I'm still trying to learn all of it, but it's just a different type.
Right. You can make a bumper for your truck. If you had a truck.
Yeah, I need to, right?
You should buy a truck. You can fucking buy a truck, and then you can make a bumper.
They have.
You can test out your welds too.
And I learned one thing that was very important to learn. Welders give off immense ultraviolet light.
Oh, girl, that's
so
why
I got a beautiful sunburn on my left arm right now.
You got to come on, bro.
I was really dumb.
That's
really
totally
dumb.
Forgot. You're pretty smart too. I find that interesting.
They
totally missed that concept.
They told me the TIG throws off
in your fucking T's, and
they told me the TIG throws off a ton of UV, but I didn't know the MIG did as well. So I sat down 20 minutes with the MIG, and
I think any of them do. I mean, it's really, you should be fully coated. This is something you should try at home. People should not try this at home. You need to seek out your professional welder.
Absolutely. I had a lot of training before I sat down with that.
Well, good for you, man. That's great. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and one of our
becoming a welder.
Hopefully, our next project with that, or my next project is we're working on doing a full 20-gallon stainless steel brew vessel.
Oh, it's going to make some beers.
We're going to start brewing beer there, so we're going to build our own beer kit, integrate an Arduino.
That'll be it. You won't build another thing. You guys will be fucked. Nothing will get done over there.
And hopefully, we're going to automate it with all web-enabled microcontrollers, so we can monitor our brew from the web.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you are investing quality time in something that sounds like a very constructive hobby.
Possible product. Never know.
That's a great way to spend your time. I, on the other hand, don't do that.
Yeah, you play music, right?
I do play music. That's fine. Music's great. I don't have any worries with that. But it's my other hobby. That's my obsession. That's a problem, and that is playing first-person shooters on my PlayStation device. And I fucking am in love right now. It was PlayStation 3 was what I have.
Yep.
4's coming out, but Battlefield 4 just came out, and I'm playing Battlefield 4 right now, and I just fucking love it. There's a lot of things I have issues with, like some of the just stuff they chose to do is just bizarre, but the game is rocking. I really dig it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll get some stuff figured out. Yeah, I think it's because I'm really familiar with Battlefield 3. Again, it's a problem.
Yep.
Sorry, it's a problem I have. But anyway, it's fun to watch just to see the advancements in each new game release for all these games. I really like the Call of Duty series, but they have some serious lag issues, and I'm not willing to dump the money into that kind of lag, because that's all it is. It's lag.
Yeah.
It's just a problem.
Yep.
But the Battlefield, the DICE stuff has been, generally speaking, pretty cool. And I think a lot of that's because it has dedicated servers, and you can just basically hop on a local server and get a lot better connection issues are
Yep.
kind of better. But you have some little hack in there and here and there. But anyway, my point is that I don't do the same thing. I wish I had that kind of interest. I love to paint, but painting just takes fucking too much time. I got to sit down and be in the right mood, and I got to be willing to do it. My daughter paints all the time, and it's beautiful stuff, but I just don't. I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, I'll totally admit this. That I play a ton of video games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Less lately, probably none in the past few weeks, which is a first for me.
Wow.
But no, I was a big Call of Duty guy. Actually, I was a big Counter-Strike guy. I don't have a console. I just play on the PC.
Yeah.
Back
PCs are cool. PCs are the way to go.
2000. This is actually my gaming rig we're podcasting on right now. But back in 2007, when I worked at Apple, I was probably playing 40 to 45 hours a week of competitive Counter-Strike.
Nice.
And it was not something I'm super proud of, but I'm happy I did.
Well, the good news is that all the real work was done in fucking, child labor, fucking slave mines in fucking China. So it's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I know what you mean, though. It's addictive as hell. But,
Yeah.
I think the reason it's addictive is what's more interesting. Because if you stop and think about it, it really, for me, there are certain, like right now, the game is new. And what I find it's interesting is that I'm certainly into playing. I love to fucking play. But I'll get in a new map, and there's part of me that just wishes that you could just throw in a backpack and take off onto the map. Like, in other words, there's something intriguing about why it's addictive. And I think what it is because it's an escape, for sure. It's a challenge, for sure. But ultimately, it's sort of reality repeating itself with every new reiteration of a new game and a new platform of speeds and feeds, right?
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more. Virtual reality is becoming more and more real. It's getting closer to becoming what it can be. And I think that's, I think that's pretty cool. I think the idea that we might be able to, there's a Kurzweil side of the transcending, but I think just the idea that you could go into virtual reality and basically feel like you're there.
Right.
That would be so much fun. Sitting at your desk or in your living room, whatever. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's definitely the escape. There was actually I forget which Grand Theft Auto it was, but and I think this was Grand Theft Auto. I might be misquoting, but it was one of the fake talk show commercials when they were talking about it was a mother talking about her son playing video games, saying, "My son ran out into the road today and saw his cat got killed and said, 'Mom, where's the reset button?'" And it was just the whole thing of like, it's life is better with a reset and quick save.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
yeah.
If I could tap F5, a few times a day, I certainly would.
I think though that the most interesting thing about it is that there's a big, I think it's a generational gap issue, and I think that people that are in the sort of your age group, the Zuckerberg team, that new generation, they were born with an with a computer. They had an internet connection from the time you were born.
I didn't.
Okay, but my point is, my kids have.
Yep.
Okay, so they're younger than you, so give it another 10 years, right? But with that, if you think about what virtual reality and video games and all that stands for, think about what's going on with the ability to, think of the drones. So drones are basically the same thing, right?
Yep.
So if businesses could find a way to allow someone to do their job effectively, remotely, a lot of things could be done in regions of the world that are hazardous that wouldn't require us to actually have to physically be there. So if we were using heavy machinery that was all GPS and whatever you would say, but it was basically, automated.
Fly-by-wire, whatever you want to call it,
There
right?
you go, right? You could build a road.
Yep.
I mean, we can right now we can, joystick a fucking rover on Mars. So, excuse me. So I think that, down the road, and it's a generational thing, but I think pretty soon people will understand that, it makes more sense to just stay at home and be able to do that work. Why send somebody into an office to do it? We really thought that with Clinton and turning into the Gore-Bush election time frame that would become the norm. We really thought. I kind of felt like, before everything happened with 9/11, we were kind of on pace to sort of start exploring more of that. People being able to work from home. I mean, there's a lot of that now, but not nearly what there could be. And the idea that a company has to just trust that a person is going to do their job because they have to be somewhere is pretty fucked.
Well, I think it is changing a little bit though with the whole.
Certain industries,
and I think that's why the whole Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week phenomenon was so successful, or why that book was so successful, at least. I do think there's more and more people that are able to work from home. I mean, I know. I think you actually told this story on a previous podcast that about a place that you worked at places that had some meetings that were scheduled at a certain time, and you had to be there for that. But that was pretty much the only thing you had to be there for that day.
Right.
And that was kind of an arbitrary time, and everyone would give stink eye to anyone that was late. And I think that is, that falls in line with the old saying that the only reason a corporation has a meeting is because it can't physically masturbate.
Yeah, and it's true because ultimately, if you stop and think about it, a roll call meeting with the most senior level management team every day should have a place if it has an objective that drives forward the success of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So fine. If you want to sit down and look at the daily scorecard, talk about the KPIs and how you're tracking for the week, what's going on in production zone A and how are we doing in operations and what's up with the permits and how are we doing in sales and what's on our phone lines, do it every day.
Yep.
Right? Okay, that makes total sense. But again, that information, if it's properly being tracked and discussed every day, is visible in front of everybody in the room. So you don't really have to be there every day. You just need to be able to have that. But if you needed that, that's fine. But if you're just going there to sit down and go, what are you doing today? Well, here's what I'm doing today. I don't see that I see that as a waste of time and money. But beyond that, if you're someone who does posting or someone who does a particular task that doesn't really require a cube space, I would think that if, in the next generation, those people will probably work from home because you don't need to have them in an office. You can have a smaller office. You can save fucking space on the freeways. And just generally, it's a huge savings all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, we all fucking work too much to barely fucking do anything. We all do. Everybody I know, it's just a constant fucking, rat race to and it's not just people who are stuck in the city where things are quote unquote expensive. It's all the way up here in New Hampshire. I mean, it's everywhere. People just work their asses off for virtually nothing.
Yeah, I mean, have you been following the traffic jam in China at all?
I've seen it.
I've
not followed it.
I haven't. I actually haven't looked it up lately, but I believe it's still going on. I haven't checked.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's something like 42 days. There's been a gridlock on the highway. 42 days people haven't been able to move their car.
So you just leave your car there and go home. I mean, you walk off.
They don't. Vendors have come out of every town along the highway, have climbed up onto the highway and set up shops all along it.
Oh my
God! There's people selling bags to use the bathroom or go to the bathroom in. There's food trucks that just go up and down the side lanes. It's literally they've created like a
so
small
what do you do when
village.
they run out of money?
I mean, that's the thing. How are you getting more money? And so it's ridiculous. And these are like 12-lane highways.
Oh my God! It's just we are fucking stupid species. Oh my God, we are just retarded on so many levels, and I don't mean to use that word in the wrong way. I mean we really are just not.
Well, retarded means held back, and we certainly are held back in some ways.
We're just not. We're not ignorant. We certainly know better, but we just don't care. We just plow forward with our stupidity and right in front of us. It's a tragedy. It really is. It's a total tragedy that we're just so stupid. The idea that we have to argue about climate change is silly. The idea that we can't have health care without it fucking working for everybody is silly. And it's silly because the only reason I say it's silly for us, I can't speak for Mexico or, if you live in Australia, I don't know. But for us, it's silly because if we cut our military budget by 4%, we would have free health care for every U.S. citizen
Right.
for life, retirement fund, it's just so really we can't make that happen. What's interesting with this most recent debacle is that the Republicans, on a lot of ways, they kind of got what they wanted by making a big stand in front of this issue with the website.
Right.
But they also fucked up royally because they had a huge deal 2 weeks before. They had the deal where they could have cut out the sequester and they could have cut through all these other issues, and they would have gotten a lot of things taken off the table. Little modifications in spending that would have improved their stand. But they decided to throw all that aside and thinking they were going to get something done with this, holding up the government to talk about Obamacare.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. But
but
my point is
Yeah.
that the thing with the sequester is they're all fucking angry now. The military's pissed because everybody's getting a little cut here.
Yeah.
You know, we all lose a little bling, and the military does not like losing bling. Not when it's cut
No.
like this.
And they didn't get paid for that time either.
Well, beyond that, the sequester is what I'm talking about. Is it really impacts their ability to make plans? I mean, the military is always planning out, dude. They're fucking. If we could see what at the highest level, like if you could go into the Steve Jobs, shop where he walks down the tables and shows you all the new shit and exciting.
Yep.
If you could do that with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, your fucking brain would explode looking at what they're working on. I mean, we see the stuff now that they're willing to talk about. Think about that. So, like, the
Right.
example I just saw most recently was the laser-guided laser that could shoot shit down with a laser on
Yeah.
a fucking destroyer.
Yeah.
And they shot down a plane with a heated laser. It started
Yeah.
smoking and it heated up and it blew up from a laser. It's okay, right? So that's what we know about. Imagine what we don't know about with the government's
Yeah.
military. And so when you go in and you just say, we're going to sequester, we're just going to flat cuts and you're part of it. Sorry. They're like, hold the fuck up, dude. You can't
Yeah.
just, who the fuck are you? Go make your own money. We'll fucking, don't fuck with us. And we back off. Our officials are, we've got to support the security of the United States. Really? We have so much fucking security. It's stupid. But okay, I'm fine with that if we
Yep.
can afford it. But if we can afford that, we can afford great schools, great roads, great medicine, great fucking libraries.
At what point? What are you protecting it at a certain point?
Great fucking response to fucking disasters like Katrina, like Sandy.
Did you post that
Like, it's
the
fucking
fire department?
stupid.
Did you post that video about the Chicago Fire Department? Was that you? It's a documentary about the Chicago Fire Department.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That was fucking amazing
Yes.
and incredibly fucked up.
Yes.
For people that haven't seen it, I'll post a link to it actually in the description of this. The Chicago or one what is it? Not sector, but like one precinct of the Chicago Fire Department. Literally, they couldn't afford to fix their old station, so they're working out of a warehouse that's so cold they had to build cardboard shanties inside of it for themselves just to keep warm.
That's Detroit, dude. You
Did I
said
say Chicago? I'm sorry, it's Detroit.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
thought of that too when I was thinking of what you said. So it's okay. We're both kind of brain farted on that.
And I believe there's 28 members in the department when there should be a regulation of 80.
It's insane what's going on there.
Yeah.
We have decided to fucking just say, this is amazing to me. The amount of news coverage today alone over the Michigan game,
Mm-hmm.
and it's insane. But yet, and the thing, like, they have Michigan has one of the most amazing art. I've never been to it, but my wife is from Michigan.
Which school is
It's
it?
in Grand Rapids.
MSU or?
In Michigan State University in Michigan.
Okay, I've been there.
Okay.
It's
But
a beautiful
it's huge
school.
rival, but those two, they just had a big football game, and
Yep.
I think State won. But anyway, the point is huge news coverage over the game.
Yep.
Fine. That's great. They also have this thing called Art Prize every year. It's amazing. The whole town of Grand Rapids becomes an art studio. Outdoors, indoors, art
Wow.
above, in trees, on the fucking water. Huge. It's crazy, and it's amazing art. Like some of the stuff I saw, and it was just crazy. Meanwhile, fucking Detroit looks like Afghanistan,
Yeah.
and nobody gives a fuck. And we're bitching because we don't have enough money. The military's bitching because they don't have all the money they want, and this happens. I mean, there's no city of anymore. I mean, there's no fucking I get it. Shit changes, but this is, it's just amazing to me that we have just looked the other way at the idea that this city is just fucking done. We don't care. And the people who live there, I can't imagine, like what a depressing fucking world to live in, to have to get up every day knowing that shit's going down.
And that it's not changing.
I mean, if you live in Bloomfield Hills or one of these towns that are outside and they're nice, posh, I don't even know what that looks like now. But the point is, the city that's your city, where you would go to the Lions game, or I mean, it's just fucking, it's like zombie land. They just fucking boarded up fucking streets are boarded, and fires are burning up fucking half the city. And
the fact that literally they have to. Like, it's not just a house fire, but it's like 7 houses because they can't. It's an hour average response time, I think is what they said.
Yeah, it's
a 58-minute average response time.
Well, I don't know that. I think there's a real, the world's always had fuckery. Just because we have the internet now, we can talk about the whole world and we can point out all the fuckery that goes on. If you lived in Sicily in fucking 200 AD, there was still an equal amount of fuckery, probably a lot more. Really, there was a lot more fuckery.
I'm sure.
But the point is, like, well, we don't. We live in fucking 21st century, and we really should be beyond all that. And, anyway,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I don't watch the news anymore at all. I canceled my
There's
cable.
really not any news.
And, so that's the one thing that I think is going to get changed. Started is the internet, is something that they haven't. That's going to be the next thing that they are trying to do and are still going to keep trying to do is lock down that internet.
Young Turks is a great show.
Vice.com. I love Vice.
Vice is a great, and you're right. I mean, HuffPost, and there are a lot of outlets that are changing,
and they all have their own bias. But if you definitely if you take
they all have our own bias.
Yeah, if you take take in all the sources, you can definitely get a good idea what's going on. And one of my clients, and I would say friend John, just got back from Saudi Arabia, and he was telling me how he thought it was going to be one way, and it was very much another way. That a lot of the young people don't go and pray anymore. They pray maybe once a week, and that's only because they always have a family dinner afterwards. Their family expects to see them there.
Yeah.
And that every even the most extreme countries that typically have had the most rigid social, what am I trying to say here? Traditions. That's changing because they have the internet and they see another way of life, another way of living, and another set of traditions, and they obviously are free thought is prevailing, and they choose to do things a different way.
Well, I always say that it would take really one simple contact moment from anything outside of our planet that would change pretty much in a minute all of the stuff that we've allowed to build up in our quest, our desire to find quote unquote God. And all these religions have a different sort of angle on God, but the God thing's an interesting phenomenon. But the you're right. I mean, for Saudi Arabia to do that, that's sort of like if you grow up in the Midwest and you're a
farmer.
Yeah, or anything, but you might be Church of Christ goer or Baptist or Methodist, and to not be that, it really sort of tears at your whole fiber of what your what you were brought up in. But I think the reason it happens is because you realize it's bullshit. And
well, look at the Amish.
The Saudis are going like, this is bullshit. I mean, these kids are going, really? Come on. And you're right. The internet and the world connecting on these levels has created a level of transparency.
Well, it's like the thing. So they all the men over there wear their head covers. It's I believe it's if you're Saudi, it's red, and if it's another place, it's the blue, like the blue checkered pattern or whatever. Do you know where that came from? It was I believe it was the British left when they were eating there or something. They were using a flag or something with the British colors. I believe they were tablecloths. They left them when they were there, when they exited.
Right.
and the Saudis, the native Saudis that were there, used them as head cover.
Nice.
And then it just became that's what
Trendy.
you had to do.
It became the trend.
But now it's religion. Now it's like you have to have that in your head, and you
it's
can't
like doctors.
and you can't wear shorts outside, and
it's
like
yeah, it's like Nike. It's like anything. It's a fucking brand now.
yeah. So I just think it's so
Cult
ridiculous that it's not even. I don't know. As Joe Rogan said in a podcast recently, which I thought this was brilliant, religions are only credible if they're old as fuck.
Yeah, and
like that's it. The older
yeah.
something is, and the longer ago someone did
Yeah.
something, just the more credible
it's
it
like
is.
Terrence
But that makes
McKenna said, you should only really trust people who are dead because there's not a lot that they can fuck up. If they said something and it makes sense, then it probably is right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's just what I think was most interesting, and I tried to explain this to my kid recently. One of my daughters, I forget who it was, is that the planet's 4 billion years old. And there's about a 20% of our population that actually believes that that's bullshit. and there are people outside of go to again generational, but if you go to the Middle East, there might be a higher percentage of people who think that's bullshit because they've been told that. That's all
Right.
it is. They've been told that. They don't really want to study the quote, the facts. But based on that, I think that there's an interesting connection for all of us in the history that's written, that we know, that's about mankind, that is abruptly interrupted. I don't know what it was, but I would say 12,000 years ago is a fair number.
Yeah.
Shit was abruptly changed, and I think that was the flood. It's talked about in every culture. It's not just a Noah story. It's a Gilgamesh story. It's a story of Hindu and Indian and all that. Everywhere it talks about the flood. And, I remember, I think it was Graham Hancock that described the flood. And he said, if you think about it, there were these huge mile-deep glacial sheets that when the planet sort of ended the last ice age.
Mm-hmm. Technically, we're still in the last ice age, but okay.
But when the main portion of that was ending, the big chunks of ice were building these huge pools inland of the ice sheet, and they were becoming miles deep. And then, unlike a rock or a wall of sediment, when the rest of the ice started to melt on the outside, these monstrous rivers, lakes of water would just bust through the edge of the ice, and this started to happen, and it created this shitstorm of water that flooded the earth. And so the history books talk about that, and I think it disrupted what we knew about God. I think, just me, that honestly, when I really want to question what God is, and I don't want to just go, how dare you blaspheme, to go against what you've been taught about whoever your religion is. But when I think about it, it's like, well, 500,000 years ago in a 4 billion year time scale is like a fucking blip on the radar. It's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 500,000 years ago, there could have been the Prometheus story could have happened. Not forget about how it was told, but think about what the point is that something more intelligent came here, checked it out, and said, pretty cool. Now, the Zachariah Sitchin story is that those cool people came here because they wanted gold. And they got here and realized it was a lot of fucking work, and they took apes and they transcended them into humans. Somewhere in one of those storylines from, Ridley Scott to Zachariah Sitchin, somewhere in there, I think there's some truth. We are uniquely different. And take Terrence McKenna again, his whole, stoned ape theory of how we became so rapidly different is also viable. But I do think something is there. Something that transcends what we know. There is a God, but I think the flood fucked it all up. And so it could have been 500,000 years ago. It could have been 40 million years ago that something from somewhere else came by us. What are we trying to do right now?
I think it's mushrooms.
I like that. I like that theory.
The more I learn about it, the more I like it. But I have no hand in that.
I think it has. I think it's got a lot of credibility based on the fact that as long as viable, in my opinion, what I would call viable history, things that I can look up and see pictures of or read the article on. So not very long ago, that's what I would call viable. I've not seen anything that says to me, holy fuck, those are aliens. I've seen everything
Right.
that's out there, and I've heard all the enthusiasms from all the people who want to tell me about it, but I haven't experienced it, and I haven't seen it, and I don't think that it's I don't think that's really the truth. I think that it might be. I won't rule it out. I think that the probability of there being intelligent life, more intelligent than us, that can come here,
Mm-hmm.
and that did come here before, is very likely. But
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
that what you're saying is more probable, that the Terence McKenna theory of how we got how the cerebral cortex of the human being increased to doubled in size in less than 2 million years.
Right.
There is something that gotten into the food chain, probably, that started that genetic.
Yeah, and after an experience I
Jump.
had probably, I think it was 4 or 5 weeks ago now. My first experience on mushrooms was just kind of, oh wow, this is fun. And then the one that I had a few weeks ago was very, very different, and for sure it led me to want to look into that more. So
Yeah.
I mean, whatever that's worth.
Well, it's worth a lot if you take mushrooms. It means nothing if you don't know what mushrooms really do for you. If you're afraid of mushrooms because you've, again, much like religion, been told not to, this really doesn't have much interest. But if you've ever pondered the idea of doing mushrooms, or you have done mushrooms, you know it's, if you haven't done them, you know why you're asking to do them.
Right.
You're not asking. If you do them at a party or at a frat house, it just
You're
shows
an
up.
idiot.
It's much like the pizza had anchovies and you didn't expect it. It just happened and you ate it.
Right.
And that's a different thing. But the people who are actually thinking about doing mushrooms are thinking about it because they're looking for what that trip really would mean to them. They've heard about people on trips. But the people who've actually had a trip, they can honestly say, it changed shit.
It
changed
absolutely
shit.
did. It did change shit for
Longer
sure.
than
yeah.
the time I was taking them. Like, it changed shit after every day. It's interesting.
Yeah, I do not act the same daily as I did before this last one, for sure. And it was what people would call a bad trip.
Really?
But I think that's what was needed at that point, and that's
So
why it happened.
Why was it a bad trip?
It was the most horrifying thing I've ever experienced in my life, without a doubt.
Really? Why? What was so horrifying about it? What freaked you out on it?
Well, at first, I unfortunately started throwing up almost right away.
All right. So you started throwing up.
Yeah, we did. I think we did 3.5 or almost 4 grams of them.
Okay.
So it was a good amount, and
So
I
you
didn't.
just raw changed them.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Powered
I had
right through 'em.
nothing. I just ate them.
All right.
And right away, I mean, throwing up on mushrooms is not the best experience. But as soon as that happened, I wasn't even. I wasn't really conscious of my body for a while. It was more just this being kind of dragged, having your consciousness dragged through some scary shit.
Well, you got some scary shit in your life then.
That's exactly what it was. I had some things in my brain that obviously I had to get worked out, and I knew I could do it, a few different ways. And to me, mushrooms is definitely one of the quickest ways to work through some stuff that you want to get out of your mind and get some habits gone, and it worked perfectly.
I don't think people really understand, though, that, if you smoke pot and if you drink beer and whatever, you tied one on, that's all cool. And if you do things, if you mess around with amphetamines or any of that stuff, it's all very different. And I think that what mushrooms do is they go and they open up the door that is typically locked between sleep and awake.
Mm-hmm.
And they open up the door and they say, "Here's all the shit in the attic. Come on up." They allow the subconscious. They allow the subconscious to be released and to dwell on thought and to dwell on.
I would say come on out of the attic. I think we live in the attic personally, but
I think we live in the closet.
yeah, sure. There we go.
And I think that's what happens is that we allow those things that we can't just be honest about to They happen. You can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can present, there is a way to do them that if you treat them with due respect and you do them alone with someone you trust very much near your side that's not doing them. So one or two people, three people maybe, but that's getting crazy. But usually by yourself in a dark environment, in a comfortable setting with nothing waiting on the burner. You don't have to pick up somebody at an airport in 4 hours or
Mm-hmm.
the next day. You need to set aside the time, and you need to go into it with the right approach. I think that you can have a trip that is sometimes scary, but very manageable and ultimately very rewarding in the sort of osmosis sort of understanding of shit.
Yeah.
It's not anything that's explained. It's not something that you come out of and you can tell everybody about immediately. It's really something that's, to your point, it's very internal, but it's also mushrooms allow for, I think, a communication with yourself or something else maybe. I don't even fucking know. But my experiences with them was I felt like I was with somebody besides me.
This is actually kind of funny, but right before I did them, I was actually talking to Kyle on the phone, and he said, "Hey, man, I'll meet you in hyperspace. Like, I'll meet you there." And I still can't explain this feeling completely in words yet, but right when I was in the peak of things, I had no grasp of my, physical tie to the world, and I literally was flying over the U.S. like Superman style. All I could just picture, I could look down, look around, and I was flying over the entire U.S. And I could look down and see everything as I was going over every state.
Did you have a cape?
I had not have a cape.
fucking
I didn't really have
cape
there wasn't
sucked,
really,
dude.
I didn't have a body. It
You were
was
just
just,
doing it.
and I literally went to Valencia to try and find Kyle, and I was just over there, and I landed on the ground, and I looked around, and then I came right back out of it. But literally, I've never seen the places that I saw when I was doing that.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, I was kind of ripped off of Earth I can't explain it, but there was this fractal pattern.
Yeah.
And it was just the universe before me, and it was tearing open. And then I finally kind of came back down, but
Yeah, I always found that
and it sounds cliche, but
well, McKenna says it too, and he's right. I mean, it breaks down borders. It just diminishes borders between. Your ego is shut off and so people
Yeah.
who are really, who are I think about this. Like, my wife does not like to smoke pot, and she is an awesome good time. She is a social extrovert. She's an extrovert. She likes to go out. She likes to have a good time with people. She likes to introduce, talk, socialize. But she's also very much in control.
mm-hmm.
She needs to have that, right? And whereas with me, I don't really have a lot of structure. And that's probably because I did a lot of mushrooms when I was younger, right? But at the same time, I really like to smoke marijuana because it doesn't get in the way of me feeling good or bad about myself. It doesn't change I don't get paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with a lot of people. The people who get paranoid typically get paranoid because there's a thing about their ego that they lose some control of, and they get kind of in a weird spot, and they don't trust themselves inside. They don't trust that this is just all in my head. And mushrooms take that to a fucking whole new level. Mushrooms just take your ego and they say, okay, you don't, you're not. It's like taking your kid to the doctor, an ER, when their fucking arm's cut off or something. You can't come in. What? It's the same thing. Your ego's like fucking cut off, and that freaks people the fuck out. Do we have somebody? Oh no, somebody's at next door. It's so weird. Right as I say that, I look up. There's somebody outside the door. But the point is, it removes, it dissolves borders, it removes ego, and it really. When I always did it, I had a couple experiences that were really very fucking cool, and I had a couple that were kind of dark and kind of fucking. I wanted it to end.
Yeah,
But
that was the
most
feeling
of
I could
them
definitely
from
say was
me.
there.
Most of them from me were fairly. Were brutal,
Mm-hmm.
but they were brutal in a way that after I was done with it, I was good with it. I knew I think a lot of it was you have to put in the work. You can't just do them a couple times and expect
Yep.
it to work. But I think that going back to what we were originally talking about with the mushroom theory, I think that McKenna might be right in the sense that back when we did mushrooms, and that was
And I
And
do just
I
want to
would-
add the McKenna's book, Food of the Gods, if you want to
yeah,
know
Food
more.
of the Gods is good.
Kyle just
Yeah,
tweeted
that's
us
a good.
that.
That's a great book, and it's also on audiobooks. I think you can get it on Kindle books for free. Maybe not Kindle, Amazon. I know
Okay.
there's another. I've heard it on. I just go to YouTube. I'll be honest with you. If it's an audiobook, the first place I look is on YouTube because it's usually there, and then I don't have to buy it, and I could just fucking play it. It's just so ridiculous, right? But back to McKenna's
Yep,
point.
yep.
You know, the theory of that is, everybody never had a lot of hang-ups. We didn't have to have Versace. We didn't have to have fucking, we didn't have any culture that was built. Then culture creates this thing
Right.
that says you have to be in a certain spot to be part of that culture. We just had familial tribal environments where the pure ecstasy of being thrust from Neanderthal caveman forward thinking into becoming a Homo sapien, I think that transition, people were ecstatic. There was no 10 commandments that said you couldn't
Right.
just have orgiastic sex under a full moon in fear or in full jubilation, completely high as a fucking kite on mushrooms. That was the whole reason to gather. That
Keep going. I'll be right back.
I think that those are the. Hold on, let me do this. Sorry, I'll just shut that off so it's not humming. But I do think for those of you who are listening, my three friends, they're mostly family. I think that now when people take mushrooms, there's a lot of pressures of everyday life that are built up in that subconscious that are let out and go to the attic, as Cole was saying. And so what people really probably need to do is we need to take a step back and look at what we are on a bigger global scale as a society. And I don't know if taking mushrooms is the answer, but it's probably the reason that some people, like Cole was just saying, tend to have bad trips from time to time. But that's all I have to say about that, because I do not want to get in trouble, and everything I say cannot be held against me in a court of law. But it is pretty amazing that we have things like cigarettes that are completely legal and kill people every day, and you can get drunk as fuck, and if you know where to go and how to get drunk as fuck, you probably can get out of there and get in your car and take the risk of killing yourself and other people. You can go to a liquor store and buy as much liquor as you want, as long as you can afford to pay for it. That to me is amazing. But like I said, my daughter, who is on an MS prescription, it's a controlled substance drug. Yeah, I'll take one. It's a controlled drug, and so she can only have 1 month's supply at a time. So, and you have to order it every month. But yet I can go to the commish and get as much fucking vodka as I want. And I like vodka, but, well, therein lies my point. What else is going on? Cole is getting me a drink right now. We're pretty excited that this webcast thing seems to be working. And it's daylight savings time, which is cool as fuck, because that means that I got an extra hour out of this weekend. Thank you, dude. I got the fucking Heineken going. I haven't rocked a Heineken in 20 years. Okay, so this is where we play musical chairs. Cole is going to sit in, and I'm going to go take a quick bathroom break myself.
All right. Yeah, so I just grabbed a Heineken, which is not a beer that I would ever catch myself drinking. But hopefully I'm going to have Emily Bryan back on this, possibly even the wonderful Michelle Chase. I want to do an episode on diet and health and all that fun stuff. And Michelle and Emily happen to be my two favorite health food experts. Emily is gluten-free, which I've been doing for I believe this is my 5th week. And Michelle isn't she's mostly vegan, like 90% vegan, which I guess isn't vegan. She's whatever, it doesn't really matter. But anyways, I've been gluten-free for 5 weeks, and it's amazing. So just wanted to throw it out there that if you haven't done any studying on gluten-free and why you should be gluten-free, it's definitely worth taking a look at. I know I feel amazing on it, but do whatever feels best for you and feels right for you. So no other advice other than that, but it's it's kind of strange. I lost about 2 pounds in my first 3 weeks, doing this, but within those 2 pounds, I think I lost 2 or 3 pant sizes, which is crazy. None of my pants fit me anymore because the only explanation I have is that I was literally that swollen from the gluten. That I don't know all the science behind it or why that happens to your body, but anyways, pretty amazing that it was only a few pounds, so it wasn't any actual body fat loss. It was just the bloatedness and how gross your body is holding onto a bunch of stuff. And the first few weeks are pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's hard to not eat sandwiches, especially when I travel or I'm out doing business. But you figure it out, and sandwiches were not the hardest. Beer and whiskey. I'm a huge Scotch fan. I used to drink a lot of Scotch, not a lot, but when I went out, that would be my drink. And now it's pretty much Heineken, Budweiser, or Sapporo, because those are the 3 gluten-free beers that are pretty much everywhere. And supposedly Crown Royal actually is gluten-free enough where some celiacs don't get affected by it. Emily says she's been gluten-free for 7 years. That's crazy. And gluten-free pancakes are amazing. I found that out last week. That I thought that it was going to taste pretty awful. I mean, being rice-based, but gluten-free pancakes are amazing. In fact, I actually like them better than regular pancakes. Just a side note to fill some time while Bill gets back into his chair. Yeah, man, gluten-free pancakes are amazing. Actually, Portland Pie, this pizza company, has a...
I love fucking pancakes.
Oh, man, pancakes are amazing. Gluten-free, Bill. Try it out. Barton. And King Arthur is the name of the company that makes the gluten-free dough or flour that I use.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Don't
use Glutino. Glutino sucks.
You know what? With the amount of syrup I put on shit, it doesn't really matter. It is funny, though, that I don't know if we just discovered it. Maybe that's why in the 70s they beat the kids, because they didn't know they had a fucking issue with gluten. Because nobody was ADD. Nobody had ADHD. Nobody fucking OCD. Nobody had, but they all beat their kids. So maybe that's what it was. Like, everybody got beat up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Blistering asses. And I saw a thing, I think it was on Joe Rogan, and they were reading an article of guys in the, I think it was the 50s, and talking about should you
beat
slap
your
around
kids?
your wife? No, should you spank your wife? Should a wife be spanked? Should a woman be spanked? I think is what it said. And these guys, their answers were, today they would be fucking jailed. They would be jailed for those comments. And I quite honestly found them disgusting. But they were like, of course, she's got it coming to her even if she didn't do it. It's like, are you kidding me?
Oh, my God.
Like, no wonder my mom's like, my dad was fucking sane. But, I can only imagine what some of those women went through.
Yeah, for sure. They were talking about that. They were saying how you could you can beat your wife as long as it was smaller than her wrist or her pinky or something.
I don't know.
There was literally a rule of measurement based on like the size of their
world.
pinky or something.
So there you go.
Ridiculous.
So you know what? McKenna might be right, because when we quit doing mushrooms is when we all got fucking stupid and started behaving like idiots, and the male-dominated societies were truly kicked into high gear with the creation of alcohol and the diminishing returns on finding mushrooms. So
yeah,
maybe there's truth to that. I don't know. But
I think it was the people I was around. Kyle was actually just texting me, and we had talked about this when I came back, that I think there were like 11 people there, and some of them were pretty loud, and
Yeah, it's too many people.
yeah, it's
That's
far
a
too many
bad way
people.
to
And they were all doing it, but one person.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I don't know. There's some things you just do by yourself.
Yep.
You know, and
For
all
sure.
you do and really control it. I had a dog in Montana, and my parents were really original. They named every fucking dog they had Lady. So, you know, I'll just tell you, her name was Lady. And if you knew my pets, for some reason you're listening, it means nothing, right? Because every dog was Lady. But the dog we had in a place called Jetty Lake in Montana.
Yep.
I would go, and there was a place I could go camp that was, and I knew the area really, really, really well. But it was really, really fucking cool. I was outdoors in Montana, in the mountains, on a lake. And I would take that dog with me. And as long as she was cool, I was cool. And she would fucking never bark, really. Because there were homes everywhere, buried in these sort of like hills, right?
Yep.
But there's a place I could camp, and I did mushrooms there with just her, and in the summer, and it was there was a moment where the moon was up, right, and I couldn't get in the water, but she was it was dark out, and she was getting in the water, and she loved it. And I was just watching the reflection as she would jump in, because I was throwing her a stick or something. I don't even really remember what was going on, but she was jumping around in the water. But the reflection of the moon on the water just turned into the ripples of the moon's reflection. It just sort of like lifted off the water and became this whole sort of thing. And in that moment, it's really strange, but I kind of knew the meaning of everything. And and today only can I say that I confidently did, but I couldn't tell you what I fucking knew. I just can tell you that it was just the answers were there, and those were and I often felt like when I would do them, I often felt like I was, you know, talking in third person. It was really bizarre. Like there was something there with me in the mushroom that was sort of like through some sort of like, you know, merging with my DNA created this other thing that, again, like McKenna was the god of mushrooms. He had the best of all of it. But he would talk about that, you know, if you were an alien life form, what would be the best way to be an alien life form? And that's to be the least intrusive. And, you know, how can you be fucking spore traveling through space with the code of higher dimensions and the understanding of intelligence and how to unleash that in a species if they want it.
Right.
If they don't, they just sit in a pile of shit and fucking decay, because we don't even touch. I mean, like he said, you know, they make fucking vegans look like fucking, you know, fucking fucking Caesar. I mean, you know, like fucking Caligula, because
Right.
they just live on shit and they don't take anything. But what's inside of them, it will fucking change the DNA makeup of a fucking. So, you know, there's a lot of validity in that may be what, like. So again, 500,000 years ago, the aliens come by and they go, "Yep, check this off. This is a good place," and they throw some mold around. I don't know. You know, it comes on a fucking
it's
meteor.
interesting. And the funny thing is too, and I need to do some more research in this so I can quote it intelligently. But
Well, sorry.
that's all right.
Just checking
Hello.
the bass frequencies. Thank you.
It works. Oh shit. Okay,
Yes.
there we go. So I believe that the psilocybin mushroom is a form of DMT, but it's 5-methyl hydroxy something.
It's real close. They're very similar.
They're off by one
They're very
molecule.
similar.
It was my understanding. It has oxygen added onto it instead of something else.
It's the only. I think it's in the phosphorates. It's like I don't know. And he talks about that. I don't know. Pharmaceutical, but the point is, I mean, they're very similar. They are almost. It is almost DMT, almost.
Right, and there's many things that have that in it,
Mm-hmm.
but because the way our bodies are engineered, and I believe if you take a beta blocker, I think it's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what
how
allowed.
that's what ayahuasca does.
Exactly, because it's the two pieces combined.
The DMT is in the plant, the
Mhm.
leaves, but it's the bark that actually is the inhibitor that allows it to be
I'm
digested.
sorry, not a. What did I say? Whatever. It's an MAOI inhibitor is what you have to take.
Yeah, and it allows it to
Not
then be
beta blocker.
absorbed. Otherwise, you have to smoke it. But that's what
Right.
ayahuasca is. And mushrooms don't have that in the way of it.
Right, but so many plants that we eat have that.
Everything has DMT. I mean, not everything, but you're right. A lot has
A-
DMT.
And it's just the fact that we're not all tripping all the time is because our bodies have evolved to prevent that.
right.
And one of the I believe that's part of the theory that maybe that's what used to happen and we evolved out of that because you can't.
I don't know. Then that means maybe I think it's more.
Because we had to get shit done.
I think the flood fucked it up.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the flood got us panicked, and I think this, after a catastrophic earth-changing event like a flood,
Yep.
where virtually everybody's fucking flooded,
Mm-hmm.
those who are left, the strong shall survive, all those sort of metaphors.
I've seen
sayings.
Waterworld.
I think that, anarchy runs amok, and I think the strongest take over and start running shit. And when they do, they build their societies. And so, you can be a great king, but most kings are just power-driven one percenters. They're the top of the top, historically speaking. And some of them are good, but most of them were just fucking vicious assholes.
Yep.
They all wanted more of whatever they had. And most of the pyramids were built like that. I don't think they all were, but most of them were. And I think that the Sphinx is a great example of, if you watch a Graham Hancock thing on the Sphinx, I mean, it's obvious to me that the Sphinx has been around a lot longer than the Egyptologists want to give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that.
Well, they just found that
it's crazy that we can't. I understand it on the one hand, though. Like, it takes pure science to be able to, do the things we do. You can't rely on maybe it happens or maybe it doesn't. Science is science. But when it comes to things like archaeological evidence and knowing history, that's rewritten every fucking day. And the fact that we're so entrenched in what we say it is and know that it's not is bullshit. The Sphinx is fucking old.
It is, yeah.
It wasn't a fucking pharaoh's head on it. It was a fucking lion's head, and it was points right at the fucking constellation of Leo 15,000 years ago. So, and some people would even argue that, that cycle, that I think that when it goes through the equinoxial cycle, when it goes through all of the different signs of the zodiac, I forget how long it is. It's a long fucking time, but some people push it back even farther and say, well, it could have been built even the one before. And that's right. Why don't we accept that could be right? We just shut it down like it's bullshit and that the Sphinx was built in 4000 BC. Come on. Really?
Yeah, I'm trying
Why
to
are we
find.
so short-sighted on that?
There was just a structure found. I believe.
I think it's because the flood reinvented history for mankind about 12,000 years ago. Nothing was written about for probably a couple thousand years as all the fucking hoarding and shit got straightened out and people reinvented themselves and new kings and new leaders.
Well, they just found this building that was 14,000 years old. I was just trying to find over 14 or
Tepe is like over 12,000.
Yeah.
They find this shit all the time. So the idea that we're locked in on the answer is stupid. And when it comes to archaeological evidence, I think it's hard to just have that hard-lined approach. I think that's wrong. But I think that going back to the whole idea that I bet that the mushrooms were the god. I bet that was the brain expansion over the course of the last million years or whatever. But I do think that after the flood, shit got ugly for mankind, and they had to find a way to survive. And I think that's the written history we know of today. And so we have amnesia of a sort, right? We fucking forgot. And I really hope that people, through respectful action, can get back closer to the Gaian principles that are really unraveled when you go take 4 or 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can do anything on 5 grams of psilocybin.
Yeah.
You can go, things happen. And the weird thing about it is that all of that is going on in the space between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who have never done them to understand what I'm saying, it's like they're like, "What? What do you mean?" Like, that's right. I mean, it's that crazy to know that that's in my head. That is really, and it makes you wonder if it's not. I mean, I have complete confidence in not worrying about death anymore. I have complete confidence in the fact that I don't know anything, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And all those sort of like big life question things for me were really answered through mushroom trips. It humbled me and my ego. It made me realize that I'm just a guy, and I'm thankful for the things I'm given, and life is short, and enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was actually that was a conversation I had with someone today, or I had it a while ago, but I just kind of rehashed it today a little bit, that our culture pushes that whole, chasing success the whole time, but really it's about how you're living every single day, and being okay with that the journey is the success. That, when you can't just get somewhere, you can't just build a business to say you've done that and then just be happy. You can't just, do something just to go get a car or a house or whatever. It's, it's all the stuff you did to get there. And I think that I finally became okay with just doing whatever I want to do, and expressing yourself, whether artistically or with whatever. That was one of the big revelations after I did mushrooms. That's when I joined the hackerspace. That's when I started spending more time on things that really interest me versus things I thought would get me the things I wanted.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what's good about it. It's not like getting drunk, that's for sure.
No.
Hey, I want to talk about this thing, though. So I have this new device here. It's a new vapor cigarette sort of replacement tool. Doohickey. The thing is fucking amazing. I wish I knew what it was called. Next time we get together, I'll have the answer for that. But it's really, excuse me. I think that it's amazing. First of all, you just put basically a vegetable oil based flavored, like right now I have menthol, but the vapor is, and it has an intensity. I can turn it up and down. And this unit, I mean, it looks like a light post in your yard or something.
Right.
But what it does is replaces the whole need for smoking cigarettes, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it removes the whole smell of smoke.
And is that one of the? I know there's different quality ones.
This is a Cadillac. I mean, it's a great unit. I wish I could read on it what it says. Hold on. Let me see. But the reason I bring it up, more importantly than that, is I do think it's a great. I think it's a great. The arguments are out whether or not it actually helps people quit smoking. I don't know about that, but I just like the idea that I can do it in public, and I like the idea that on some level I'm not smoking if I'm doing this. I can't read it. God dang, I can't read what it says. It's all in fine print. It's Kangertech, something. I can't read it. I'm sorry.
I can Google it. Let me see. Maybe I can see it.
You might be able to read it. But it got me thinking, what if... So who's going to be the first person who figures out...
Kangertech Pro Tank.
There you go. Kangertech Pro Tank. And it's got this thing is just smoking. You can up and down how much intensity of smoke... It's not even smoke. How much vapor comes out. But anyway, it got me thinking about, when you can get these that are THC, right? So if you can extract THC from marijuana and you can turn it into Jolly Rancher grape flavored, get you baked fucking vapor stick, no one would ever smell it. Those vapor units, I mean, it smells like burnt popcorn. It doesn't even smell like weed.
Yeah.
The only time you can smell the weed is whenever you actually have it loading it into the thing. You don't really smell the smoke. It's not smoke, it's vapor. And the vapor is just a lot better for you. It's not, you're not sending smoke through your system. So I'm digging it. I think it's pretty cool. And I think anyone who's interested in it, who does smoke, you should definitely check them out. And all the head shops, typically, I got mine at, what's it called? Fine Lines? Is that what it's called? The place in Nashua?
Headlines.
Headlines.
Or Headliners.
Headliners. It's called Headliners in Nashua. It's off of Hollis Street, and it's It's East Hollis Street, and it's a great shop. They have a ton of fucking great bongs.
It's actually right next to Make It Labs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe
no shit.
not even a half mile away.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've got some bongs in there that
Yeah.
are amazing. They had one that was like a dragon. It was an octopus too. That were fucking like the craftsmanship in them was insane. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold, but anyway, yeah, I like it. I think it's really cool. But I think if you could figure out how to get THC into this,
I believe
there's got to be a way.
I believe they do. I don't. You know what? I have
That's
a computer.
what you need.
I'll Google
that's
it
what
right
you
now.
need. It's your hacker lab, dude. It's a fucking chemistry set.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
fucking-
that's illegal. I don't condone anything illegal at Make It Labs.
No, I, of course not. But I'm saying a chemistry set's not illegal.
No, chemistry set's not.
So learn how to use a chemistry set and then bring it home, and we'll fucking see what we can do. And there's a great Trailer Park episode where Ricky gets out of jail or something. And for those of you who haven't seen Trailer Park Boys, it's the best mockumentary on the internet, on the planet. It's a Canadian broadcast. It's fucking awesome.
It's absolutely made one of the best shows
it's
ever made.
the funniest. The idea that you can do a mockumentary about a bunch of people, and all it is character development. It has nothing to do with the storyline ever. And have it be successful, and have the characters in that show are fucking insane. All of them. They all are just great characters, and it's so much fun. So anyway, there's a great episodes though where they're he says, yeah, Ricky will go out and he'll buy an ounce of pot, and then he'll bake a bunch of brownies, and he'll sell it and make enough money to buy his hydro gear. And it's just kind of funny. And I was thinking about like the brownie thing. Like brownies are fucking cool. Brownies are fucked though, because you never know. Like when you take that last bite of one, you swallow it, you're like, I don't know why I just did what I just did. I'm fucking gonna get tanked. I had banana bread one time that was marijuana banana bread, and I had to fucking lay down. I was tripping. It was almost like doing mushrooms. It was a fucking trip and a half. Because it tastes so good.
Yeah,
too.
well, when you ingest marijuana, it has a different active ingredient which gets burned off when you smoke. It's totally different. It is a hallucinogen. But by the way, no, it does not look like most vaporizers or e-cigs can do that, because THC gets vaporized at like 190, and those don't go that high, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
Or most don't. But some people have had some moderate success.
But could you find a way to? How could you
You
vaporize
could-
it?
you
and then
could do it.
distill
You-
the vapor that's left and put it in right. And
Well,
then
what you would do is you would be using hash oil, or THC oil that's distilled down. Then it would be cut with another oil or liquid that would be vaporized easily. So you can cut it down to the strength you want. Which, if you said vegetable oil, might be what I don't know what you said that is, but that would be the way to do it. But it looks like it would have to be specifically meant to do that, because those don't go to a high enough temperature, apparently. As well as the THC leaves a residue, so you'd have to be cleaning it very, very often. So that's the issue right
needs
now.
to get figured out. That needs to happen, yo. Somebody out there smarter than me fucking got it all wrapped up, 3D printing, fucking quantum mechanics and shit. Get it done. Let's do it.
Apparently they totally have those.
They
you
do.
can buy.
No shit.
Apparently somebody
Somebody was
texted me
telling me, I won't say who, but I know who it is, and so does they. That's all I can say. They were talking about them. Every fucking town in Colorado has like a minimum of 5 fucking dispensaries now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know,
It passed in New Hampshire, man.
not that.
What?
It did not pass.
Medical or
medical, but that's
Yeah.
fine. But
I can
it's
get
going to be
medical.
stringent. It's going to be strict for a while. They're not. They're
Yeah.
going to be really tight on that and who they're going to issue to. But I do think that that's a good step. But the point is, in Colorado and
Yeah.
Washington, it's like fuck that. What do you want?
Yeah, right.
How much?
Right.
Go to the
Well-
grocery store. I don't know if they're selling the grocery dispensaries, but you know. can
Well,
you
they need to
imagine just-
pass. So let's just say you have your medical card in New Hampshire or Mass or something, and then you also have it in California. If you have both cards, you should be able to fly with it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think that gets tricky because then you get into that federal space, and that's where it gets ugly. And people, you know, the federal government, TSA is already fucking stupid enough. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what would be really cool is when it becomes like toothpaste, where I don't have to worry about fucking packing it because it's going to be there when I get there,
Yeah,
and I can buy it anywhere, and then I don't have to fucking
Yeah.
think. And they need to get on with that. And again,
It's getting there.
all
It's
these
certainly getting there.
fucking
Well, it's
idiots
hemp, man.
that represent us, and people who
Yeah.
are in our government that are fucking these crazed anti fucking anything that's not what I know mentality need to be fucking axed, replaced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
And things like marijuana, gay marriage. Who gives a social issues? I'm just so tired of it.
but it's not even a social issue anymore. I mean, it's proven that the majority of America uses marijuana.
Well,
And
of course.
It's the lobbyists from
They
from,
always
from the
have.
pharmaceutical. Well, think about it though. The pharmaceuticals, right? It's the pharmaceutical lobbyists as well as the paper lobbyists because they don't want to reverse the hemp production.
Well, that's why we got rid of it to begin with. But more importantly, we've always smoked pot. Everybody
Right.
has smoked pot for fucking 5, 6, 7, 12,000. Who knows? But for thousands of years,
Right.
marijuana has
Yeah.
been a prevalent player on the playing field of mankind. It doesn't create addiction patterns. It doesn't create. It actually, I was reading some articles on it where it was talking about physical issues, and if you're smoking it, you're smoking it. So anything you
Mhm.
smoke
It's bad. Yeah,
runs
it's
a risk.
smoke.
It's smoke. So ways to mitigate that.
Edibles instantly
Right.
gone.
But some of the benefits that it had were quite amazing. It certainly does help people with pain. It helps people with certain sort of issues in their nervous system. There are values in the oils. There are things that are released that are the way they interact with your own.
Cancer.
Yeah. I mean, tumors. It actually helps to reduce size of tumors.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that we've made it, classified it as one of the most dangerous substances is just sort of silly. It should be legalized. I should give a fuck about what the government thinks about how they could tax it or how they could control it, like they do any of that with alcohol.
Yeah, well,
don't
they
control
should. I
anything
mean,
with
go.
alcohol.
I mean, just go for it.
I agree.
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I had vertigo for a year and a half, and that was there were some points where I used it to control that, and it was amazing to have a break from vertigo.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Generally speaking, I like marijuana. I think it's a quality thing.
I don't use it very often. I'll be honest. I really it's rarely maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I just
But I
find
like
that
it.
I just find that I'm hazy on it
Yeah.
after a few, the day
Yeah,
after.
it can be that for sure, but anything can be that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that when that my whole point is just that I don't like the government trying to tell me that I can't smoke pot, and they'll allow me to find a way to get drunk and might take a risk of killing people because the stats are in.
Mhm.
The truth of it is, there's no record of people who were stoned who fucking killed people in their car. There are people who are stoned and drunk, and
Yeah.
people who mostly were 100% simply drunk. That did
There's
shit.
records of people sitting in their driveway, not
Yeah.
sitting in the car going
people-
0.
people in golf carts drunk and killing people, running them over in a golf cart. They're
I
so
know
drunk.
I know people that have that's happened
I do too. And so drinking, I don't know. I think our priorities are fucked up. I think pot should be legal. I like pot. Anyway, however much you do it, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Hey.
they can figure out how to put it in one of these little vapor units. Man. They wouldn't be
Apparently, I just
styling.
had someone tell me they can. So
Yeah,
sweet.
that's cool. I'd like to find out. The problem is, how do I get it shipped here?
You don't, and that was a joke.
So, of course, the whole thing's a joke. I'm so fun. But hey, I think the podcast is a success. I know we're probably on the time thing. I'm kind of getting to that point where I might
Yeah.
be running out of time. But
That's all right. I haven't
really-
had dinner yet either, and it's 9:30.
That's a good point. I like to eat.
Yeah, eating's good, man.
But this is a success. I think when you play it back, we'll have a good idea how it worked. We appreciate everybody who listened to our shit and our spiel.
I'm gonna go make pancakes.
Pancakes are
Yeah,
good. You
we'll
know what
make
I bought
more
at the store though
pancakes.
today? I buy those buttermilk biscuits that you pop them
Yeah.
open and you put them out in the
Yeah.
cold. They have blueberry ones now. Fucking down on that.
Show me
dude.
some gluten-free versions of those, and I'm in.
You know who has gluten-free blueberry muffins that are to fucking die for? And I get one
Not
almost every
Beantown.
day. No, not Beantown. Is in Manchester. what's her name's place? Cafe La Reine.
Is that the new place that opened?
The girl who used to work at BT.
Yeah.
What's her name? Oh,
I
Alex.
forget. Okay.
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex opened a shop on Elm Street in Manchester. It's called Cafe La Reine.
Yep, I've heard it's pretty good.
She has gluten-free, and they're bombers, man. They're huge, but they're so good. They're really delicious. Yeah, if you like gluten-free, they have a lot of gluten-free stuff in there. Yeah, they're I really support places like that. Anybody who's in Manchester, I would recommend you go there for coffee. They make great lattes. Actually, they had Lucas there showing them how to make the artwork in the latte. We have a friend named Lucas who is now serving in the military. Tin Hut. He's a good guy, but he also makes lattes. He used to work at another competitor, not in the same footprint, but anyway, the point is he worked at another coffee joint. And he was a good
Something
bistro,
like that,
but he
yeah.
made these really cool little designs, like hearts and all these really fucking funky shit.
I want to do a quick
Really,
plug.
really cool ones. But anyway, he was I just saw him. He was on leave from his service, and he was up there helping Alex show the new hires how to make that shit, how to pour it right so it blended well. Really good stuff.
I have a quick plug before we go. Actually, it's on my phone somewhere. One of my favorite coffee shops in this entire area, probably New Hampshire. I'm really sorry, Beantown, but you don't do specialty coffee very well anymore. Where am I? Calendar. It's called D squared Java. D and squared Java.
Where they at?
They're in Exeter, New Hampshire. I can't find it on my phone. I have to try and find it.
If I'm ever
on
in
here.
Exeter, I'll definitely hit it.
They are, they do all pour over coffee. So your coffee takes like 2 or 3 minutes to actually get, and they can do Chemex, B House. I think it's called B House.
Grass-fed butter shit.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's
well,
good
they
stuff.
don't have the butter there, but they do. I mean, everything. Where is their Facebook? Anyways, here it is. If you check out their page, you'll see they're doing a latte art competition. It's a big like regional competition
That's
there
hot.
in November, and it's going to be on Thursday Night Throwdown. It is November 14th at 8 p.m. You can pay $5 to participate if you want to actually throw some latte art, or I believe it's free to get in and watch. So 8 p.m.
Awesome.
8 to 9. I'm sorry, doors at 8 and it starts at 9 on the 14th. So I'm going to throw that out there. So I'm definitely going to be there.
In Exeter.
Yeah.
What's her address?
They are...
On their Water Street?
They're right on the main... So
Click
if
on
you're...
that thing.
I don't think they had an address on
Yeah,
there.
they do.
Do they?
Yeah.
155 Water Street in Exeter.
I thought it was Water Street.
Yeah. They're right on the
saw
main strip. You take a left past the gazebo and maybe 200 feet down the street on the right.
Well, that's awesome to know because, and again, social media. There you go. You should get Web United involved because Web United can tie people together and get you all sort of like connected for the right reasons.
Oh, yeah, and I'll mention they serve CQ Coffee Roasters coffee. So does Beantown, but CQ is...
CQ Roasters is one of your...
CQ Roasters is a Web United client as well. They have a new site that's launching.
Nice.
Like tomorrow.
CQ Roasters.
CQ is one of the best coffee roasters I've ever had in my life.
That's great.
And that is going to do it. I think we're going to make our descent. We're going back to Earth. We're doing it.
It's time to return the shuttle back to base. Houston, we're going to be landing on 7 pad
Shrink
3.
that apoapsis. Get in there.
Victor Niner. We got a launch pad 2 coming in for landing north.
Houston, we've had no problems.
Hey, thanks, Kyle. If you're out there, dude.
Mr. Petty.
We'll talk to you when you come back. Is he coming back for Thanksgiving?
December 14th, he's going to be back
right.
here, and
I know,
we're
we got
going
a
to
Christmas
podcast
special.
the shit out of this.
We'll drink a lot of eggnog and smoke a lot of dope. I'm teasing. We would never do that.
All right,
We
Ricky.
might, because I might have a medical marijuana card by then. I'm going to find a reason to get one. I don't know. We'll see.
For sure, man, for sure.
If not, we'll at least drink some eggnog.
All right, guys, we will see
Peace
you next
out.
time.